चल छैया 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 चल छैया 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 चल छैया छैया छैया.
Hi, this is Felicia Pena, and I'm going to do a quick video so you can see how I do my little flowers. I've gotten just a few requests for a video, and I promised people I'll do a video, so I'm going to do a small one using I'm using Ranger inks. So I'm going to use the Pitch Black and the Cool Perry. And they're both Ranger ink, so I might throw a little bit extra ink, maybe a piñata, so maybe you can see more contrast. Sometimes I have to do that. So I have a 5x7 Yupo. I am reusing it. I cut it in half. This was, I believe, a 9x12, but it got messed up. So after I had sealed it, so I'm going to use the back side of it. Using a spray bottle, and the spray bottle I have only 91%. The spray bottle I'm going to use to just give it a light coat of alcohol for the 91%. And I'm also just going to wipe off this little bit of seepage with the alcohol. And sometimes the color adds to the background, so I'm not like really heartbroken about seeing some of the previous ink seepage. So now I'm just going to give it a coat of the alcohol. Just going to wipe it off or spread it around. And you've seen other artists do this on videos too, so it seems to be something that helps the paper before you start inking. So, and I basically have some alcohol poured into this plastic container, 99%, so that's what I use to drop onto the flowers and blow out. Use just plain droppers. Now to make the dots, the bubbles, hopefully I can show you, I use this boiler bottle, and I believe it's not a needle, but it's a syringe type, so it's got a 25 gauge tip, which allows for a tiny bubble. So I don't know if you can see this tiny bubble, but it's just a tiny little drop that comes out. It's a good size drop for me, so that's what I use to make some of my bubbles. I will use two things. I'll use my airbrush so you can see how the petals work with the airbrush, and it's the master airbrush, so you can find it on Yahoo, and I think I posted it several times of my air compressor airbrush. And then my favorite way is just through a straw. This is a thick straw, it's not a thin straw, so I use the fat straws. So that's basically what I use. Okay, so I have my airbrush set to, I believe, 30 psi's or 25 to 30 psi, so it's not like a instant blow. I don't want splatter. So got my dropper filled, so I'm basically gonna put a little bit of the Ranger Black, oops, and I'm gonna put some alcohol down, and I'm gonna see if I can just blow out a little bit of that. I don't want it to get too thick, so I will blow it out. Put this there so it doesn't fall. And that way it gets a little bit dry. So, and then I'm gonna throw a little bit of the Ranger Cool Perry here, and that doesn't need alcohol. It seems to take its own shape pretty quick. See, that black is still a little wet. Okay, so I got that down. So I'm going to put my straw down. I'm going to do a few petals first with the airbrush, which, like I said, is not my favorite. That's what I started off with, and I've gotten some good pieces from it, but once I started using the straw, I seem to like the straw. So it's just basically one drop. I'm letting the drop do its thing, and then slowly, I'm not right in, I'm not right close to it, but I back off a little bit. I let the drop form big, and I start blowing slowly, and as I pull back and up, the petal starts to get more narrower. So, and that, it just depends on what kind of petal you want. But all of this is kind of like learning as you go. It takes practice. So I'm coming over here on the other side, dropping, letting that bubble form, or that blob drop get kind of big, and then I pull out the petal. Alright, and we're going to come down here and start a little bit on the black and the Cool Perry, letting it form slowly. I kind of tapped out on that one, as you saw. I tapped slowly on the thing. I didn't go fast. And as you can hear, it's not like a hard blow. It's just a gentle tap on the air gun. So, like I said, I'm not really big on the petals like this, but I like my petals fat. So, but here we go. Another one. Letting the bubble form. That's a small petal. And a narrow petal. Part of it is because it's still wet. So. But as you see the pink tinge forming on the petal, which is cool. I'm good with the pink tinge. And there goes my air compressor refilling the tank. Okay, so I'm going to put another drop in between these two petals. Just drop, and it's going to feed off the alcohol there. Slowly taking my airbrush out. I'm not right on it, I'm kind of out. I start off close to it, but then I move out. So, and as you can see, the borders formed beautifully because it's feeding off of the ink that's there already. So this is still kind of being a pain and not wanting to dry, so I'm going to give it a little help here. Okay, so I'm going to feed off with this little blob of alcohol. Let the petal form, and there you go. Beautiful petal, and it feathers out. So. And again, I can't stress the importance of saying to you that this is kind of like anything in life. You have to do it over and over to get a feel for it. And don't get frustrated. You just keep trying. Just keep trying. I know when I first started doing my flowers, I was very frustrated because they weren't coming out the way I wanted them. And I wanted to control the ink, but you can't control the ink. You just have to let it do its thing. Continuing to bake. See, letting the alcohol form the drop. I'm not really doing anything to it. And I try to rotate my paper because I don't have the Lazy Susan, but I don't want to work on a spot that's still wet. The best thing is to wait till each spot dries. And you can curry it up with the airbrush if you want. So what I'm doing right now is feeding off of this ink spot that's still here. And I'm going to try to wear out this ink spot in the center so it's not too heavy. And then I'm going to start using the straw because I like the fat petals that the straw gives me. So I'm going to come back up here. That one's still a little wet, so let's see what happens. Starting from the back. There we go. Not bad. So, okay. Gonna let these bubbles get big. And as you blow out slowly, the petals start to fade out, which I hear everybody likes that soft petal look, that ethereal effect. So that's how you kind of get it. So see the bubbles, the dots get huge. I don't blow on them right away. I give them time to spread out. So this section is kind of goofy, so I'm going to try to fix that for now. Letting it spread out, and then, ooh, I like that petal. See that? And so that came out really good, right there. So, it's still, you know, it's just a process of doing this over and over. You don't get the instant flower right away. Kind of work it. You have to work it. And if you don't like the end, you can dab it and just kind of fill it out like that. So it's all just a process. Learn as you go, get a feel for it, and yep, the ink will do its thing, but you'll have some say in the ink movement eventually once you get the hang of it. Just being patient, patient, patient. Letting it blow out, getting some nice petals, and oop, my straw's in the way. And my husband is helping me make this tape. He's being very patient, and I want to say thank you to him. Say hi, Eddie.
Hello.
So, Okay, so I'll probably just do a few more and then move into the straw technique, because some of you don't have the airbrush, which is cool too. So you always have the option of using the straw. I'm not tied to one technique. So I think that looks pretty good for right now. Lots of layers. You see some of the cool Perry, the black, which turns into an ink tinge, which is awesome. I love it. So, alright, so put my spray gun master brush down. So now I'm going to use the straw. Alright, so with ink, same technique. I'm just going to take the dropper and the straw, put a drop down, let it grow, and then start blowing gently. It's not a hard, it's a small little puffs. So drop down, let it blow. And that is the perfect petal for me. That's why I like my petals. But what I also do is these blobby petals that I don't like, I'll start back here and start blowing those out too. And I don't know if you can see in the camera, but your petals are starting to form. And it kind of breaks up those rough borders. And takes the color out. Blows it out. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm not blowing hard. It's just gentle little puffs, which keeps me from getting dizzy, but also controls the alcohol a little better. So so I think I'll leave those that way, that one that way, this one a little bit of blowing here. Alright, so I don't worry too much about these edges here because I'm going to blow more petals into it. So now I'm kind of going for the side that's the least wet. So here we go. Let's try right here. There's a petal. This is the way I like my petals. They're big petals, so. And these will become more obvious once you start bringing them in from the middle. Not an exact science, so. It's all in just doing what you want it to be. Okay, so we're going to start off right here. Okay, flipping it around because this is obviously very wet. You can even take your airbrush and start, see how it dries up. I like my petals fat, but if you want them narrow, you can make them narrow. So, but we'll just keep going. I don't want to tire my husband out. Oh, there's a drop there. See that? So I got a drop there. And voila, I made a leaf out of it. So if a drop accidentally falls, if a drop accidentally falls where you don't want it, just don't fear, don't panic. Just take your straw and start blowing it out softly. All right, here we go. We're feeding off of that dark spot in the middle now because it's too dark. Been going here. Alright, so I I won't get into do too much detail because that's a skinny petal. I want to be able to show you the dots, but you can see that's kind of how I form the dots. That one little dot that just fell. So my petals are starting to get wonky here, which I'm not feeling. So when that happens, you can take your alcohol and maybe take a drop of it and start wiping it where you don't want it to get wonky. And a little drop there. Just kind of wiping it off a little bit. So there's not like a lot of alcohol there. You're giving the alcohol some space to blend a little bit easier. Okay. So yep, it looks kind of wonky, but it's okay. I'm gonna fix it. So, but I'm gonna move on right here right now. Still a little bit dark in the center here. And you may like the center dark. That's okay too. I don't like my center too dark. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to pause for a minute to readjust it. Let me do this last leaf here because a few more last leaves so I can show you how I do the dots. Or last petals. I keep calling them leaves, but they're petals. I did a tiny one there. And it's not feeling right. So, and you can keep playing to blend out the rest of the flower up here. See how you're blending, and you'll start back in and blending more leaves over that. So it's continually always doing that. So basically the way I make my drops now is I take my boiler bottle and wherever I want to make a drop, so I just tiny drop there, and as you can see, and if I want it to stop, I'll blow on it. If I want to make another one here, very light one, but it starts to eat up the alcohol. Another one there. So that's how I make my bubbles. And then if I want to make some smaller ones, I dip my little brush and kind of dab it off a little bit, and I'll just start making tiny ones. Well, they're not that tiny, but it just depends on how hard you press. See that? And I just keep putting them where I want. And then if I want, I'll just dip them in alcohol and add different colors and just keep making the dots. So you can do that too. And then finally you have the Posca pen. So then you can just make some tiny dots, just little designs to add some depth. So wherever you want to add them, you can add them just to give it a little more definition. So that's basically how I make my flowers. This is not the best work, but they kind of have the effect that I like. So hopefully this helps everybody. So thank you.